Hey guys, welcome back! Today is the day we decorate under the stairs, and I'm sure we'll get up to some other bits as well because it's not the largest area to decorate. But as I always say, just because a space is small doesn't mean there isn't room to make it distinctive and important. So let's see what we can do with this! Now, you might be wondering what possessed me to have a small homeless camp underneath the stairs, and it's a good question. It's not necessarily something that most people would add to their city or town because there's always a temptation to make things neat. Idealistic maybe? I can't quite think of the right word. But when I was thinking about what could be under these stairs, one of the first things I thought was that people would shelter there. There's an overhang against a wall which would provide a decent buffer against the weather. It's already in the poorer end of town, so they're less likely to encounter an issue with the guards than if they tried something higher up the tiers. And it just felt like adding this little detail made Castletown feel more real, I suppose. I'm obviously not going for hyper-realism or anything with this project, but when I thought about adding this, it just made the whole place feel that little bit more grounded, I guess. So we've got a fire that people can sit around for warmth and company, some sleeping bags laid out by another fire to keep warm at night, and they've even got 2 goats, which I feel like they are the best choice of animal for this because they can use them to get some free milk, and goats eat, well, pretty much anything, so they aren't too hard to keep versus like a cow or something, which would just be so much more demanding. And we've also got some bits of rubbish which I imagine the tea room leaves back here so it doesn't bother their customers. And actually, speaking of the tea room, I mentioned when we built it that this trapdoor screen is there mostly to block the customers from being able to see the stairs. And I imagine now you can see that what I meant by that was that the tea room didn't want people to see the homeless people directly behind their premises. I imagine they'd much prefer that people turn their attention to the bustling market opposite. And actually, while we're talking about the market, you may have noticed that during the time-lapse we also added some street lamps to the main road going through Lower Town. And if I'm honest, I mostly did that because I was getting really tired of the random torches that we had dotted around to make sure everything is spawn-proof. So instead, we now have our fancy street lamps, and I think, fingers crossed, everything should still be fully spawn-proof so we don't have to worry about random creepers blowing up all our hard work. But with all that sorted, there is one more thing I wanted to do today, and it starts with this wall here. It is very, very bland, and I really want to do something about that. And it's not just this wall. There are a couple of places all around town that are just a little bit empty and could do with a splash of colour. And, well, I can think of one way we can spice things up. And here are all our lovely, lovely maps. We've got a fox, a guardian, a creeper face, a chicken, a zombie, Alex, Steve, an enderman, an alley, a bee, and an ender dragon face. And since we made these on our glass platform in the end, we can make these have invisible backgrounds. If you haven't seen this trick before, basically making a map over the void makes the background of the map disappear. And since glass doesn't show on maps, if you make a glass platform over the void and then make a design on top, you end up with a map that only has your design and no background colour, which is why you can see the texture of the item frame behind all of these guys. However, if you then combine this trick with an invisible item frame data pack, you can make the item frame disappear, and then you have this lovely graffiti effect which you can put on any block. We did actually do this trick once before in our end project to create the little crack with eyes peeking out, and I've wanted to use it again ever since, and creating Castletown just feels like the right place for this. After all, a town like this is sure to have at least a couple of artists looking to put their work up. As for the designs themselves, obviously the subject matter is all different things from Minecraft, but stylistically I was kind of inspired by, I think it's Invader who does the little mosaic video game character murals, and I really like that sort of effect, and it very much lends itself to Minecraft given the pixely blocky designs. And one of the things is that I really wanted to make sure that we have a wide variety of designs that we can use around the town, partly so we can repeat them without seeing the same 3 ones over and over again, but also because having a bit of variety while still having them repeat makes them feel a bit like they're tags from different local artists. Maybe one person has the dragon which looks incredibly derpy but also somehow very charming. Another artist might use the enderman which feels suitably menacing. We've got someone with the adorable fox, and so on and so forth. In my head, this trio of Alex, Steve and the zombie are all done by the same artist, and I tried to position these in a way that they can work as a trio or in any combination, and I think they turned out particularly well and are possibly my favourites of the bunch. And I'm really hoping that by dotting these around town, we can bring some of the slightly flat areas to life and make the whole place feel a bit less clean. So we've got a bee that's hiding behind the inn, the alley and dragon on the bar, the fox down in the entrance to the clock tower, the chicken on a support pillar for the stairs, the guardian guarding people's sleeping bags, and of course plenty of designs decorating the wall that sparked this whole endeavour originally. And I'm very much hoping to continue sneakily hiding these guys all around town as little details where I think a tiny bit of colour is going to improve the space. I obviously don't want to overuse them, and I imagine as we head higher up the tiers they may start being less common and also more hidden with the increased scrutiny from the town guards, but I do want these designs to end up feeling like another part of Castletown's identity. So we'll see if I can pull that off. But that is something we will only really know with time. And speaking of time, I think we are out of it for today. But I am very glad to finally have Under the Stairs done and have the maps we need for any future graffiti around town. And as for next time, I think next time we are actually going to be finishing Lower Town, because we only really have one major thing left to do, and that is our farm shop at the end of the road. So I am very excited to tackle that and hopefully see the fully completed Lower Town. But until then, thank you guys for watching, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!